Hi, I'm Holly, and this is my homeschool story. So, we started to homeschool because basically we just wanted to spend more time with our children. We didn't want to ship them off to complete strangers every single day, to let them have the say so on what they learned, how they learned it, and just be with them all day long. We just decided that we didn't have kids to just hand them over to somebody else for 40 hours a week. That's just a lot of time. And you don't even know who is with them every day and who's asking them certain questions. And also just the fact that we just wanted to be with them. I just didn't really want to be away from them, especially when they were that young. And I really didn't think about the future, into the future too much, as far as high school yet. I hadn't even thought that far. I just thought they're very young right now, and I can definitely teach them how to read, how to write, how to do basic math skills. And I just knew that I would be their best teacher at the time. Uh, and also, as we moved on and as the years rolled on, it was just working really well. And I could see the benefits of how we were doing it. And I just didn't see the need to send them off to school. I think that we really enjoyed being with them, and we could see that they were really excelling. And I just didn't want other people to be instilling maybe their values into my children, and my husband thought the same, uh, because we wanted to teach them godly principles. We wanted to know exactly what they were learning and how they were learning it. And I just think that it's a good fit. It was a very good fit for us because my husband worked late into the evening as well. And so they could stay up later at night, so they could be with him a little bit. And it just worked out really well for us. I really didn't uh, want to send them away not knowing what kind of friends that they were making and who they were spending their time with. And then they come home and then you're asking them all these questions and they're talking about people that you really don't even know. You could go up to the school maybe and ask questions, but you just really don't know what they're doing from day to day in the classroom, except for what the teacher tells you. And so, yeah, we just basically wanted to be with our kids, know exactly what was going on in their lives, and knew that we would be better parents and if we knew what was happening with them on a day to day basis. In the early years, we used a Becca curriculum. I really liked it. It was very colorful, and they teach phonics, and I really liked that because I wanted my kids to learn how to read phonetically. I didn't want them learning just sight words and memorization words, but I wanted them to learn to read phonetically, and the public school system really wasn't doing that. They were getting to the point where they were memorizing words and not teaching phonics in school, and that really was important to me. I do know that that really served my children well because they were reading way above their reading level very, very quickly. And even though they may not have pronounced words correctly, they were definitely reading them phonetically, and very quickly they could sound out any word at a really young age. And then we would also get the dictionary out and look up the words and see what they meant. And they just really did well with phonics, and I just think that's really important. So we did a lot of hands-on projects as well with our science curriculum, and made it a lot of fun so that they weren't sitting in a desk all day long. We definitely had desk time where they sat and learned to be quiet and do their schoolwork, which I think is important, but I think that to be in a desk all day long is just not productive, so at all. So we did a lot of science projects. We did a lot of nature walks with our science. And while I did use a structured curriculum as a basis, we would navigate a little bit and away from it, on certain projects that maybe weren't in the books, to make it more fun. And we did a lot of field trips, and we incorporated a lot of home things like cooking and gardening. And, a lot of people say that of homeschoolers, but it really does serve you well. I mean, my children knew how to do so many things at such a young age compared to a lot of other kids because they were doing hands-on things instead of just at a textbook level. So they learned how to measure and cut wood, you know, pretty young. Uh, we brought in measurements and all kinds of other math skills with measuring sugar and flour and just really basic things that taught them very quickly math skills that they needed to have in the house, you know, just to run a household. So that was a really fun, and they learned how to do many recipes and just all kinds of household things that some kids don't even know how to do once they move out of the house. Really, I mean, it's shocking, but it's true. A lot of kids haven't even done their own laundry when they leave for college. Sometimes I've noticed. So they just really learned how to do a lot of those things. The other thing I really loved about homeschooling was that we could integrate uh, so many things into one subject. Like, so you, and it would overlap. So I think that it was really well done if you could get math skills in with maybe reading skills or reading comprehension with history. You could integrate all these things into multiple topics into one subject where they were learning it over and over again by repetition, but not really knowing that it was being repeated. So, for instance, just to say an example, as we would bring the grammar into a history paper. So, you know, you make sure you're spelling everything correctly and that the grammar was there. And while we still did use curriculum for each topic and each subject, those things mattered. You know, their spelling and their grammar and everything mattered in their history papers, and they knew it when they would write them out. As they got older, we joined co-ops. Even in elementary school, they had co-ops. We went to art classes. They had music classes. They did musical theater. They did children's choir. They did a lot of extracurricular activities. In fact, I know a lot of people are so worried about, oh, what are you going to do with your children? They're not socialized. I mean, really, the homeschool community is so well-rounded nowadays. There's so many opportunities for people that we had to say no to a lot of opportunities that we got just so we could actually get our book worked. There's really that much out there, and a lot of people just don't realize that. And I think that homeschoolers get a bad rap thinking that they're just sitting at home in their basement all day and not getting out and making friends. And that's just not true at all, actually. My kids had a lot of friends. They had a lot of activities. They went to school dances. I couldn't even list all of it. I mean, I would have to have a list to tell you. And I think that they were able to find what they really enjoyed and what they liked because they had the opportunity and the time to try a lot of things. So they could figure out, oh, I really like this, so I would like to do this again. Or I don't really think this is my thing, so I'm just not going to do it next year. And that really worked really well. And then by the time they hit high school, they really knew what they liked and what they wanted to spend time on and what they wanted to learn. And I think they were really well-rounded because we tried so many things that they really knew a little bit about a lot of topics. But then by the time they hit high school, they really honed in on things that they did really enjoy and they really mastered them. For instance, photography is one of them. My daughter started a photography business in high school. She did all sorts of family photography, senior pictures, engagement pictures, family photos for holidays, and she quickly became a really good photographer and could make some extra money on the side, and it has led into a side job for her today in her young adult life. So they would be able to learn a lot of hobbies. They can do a lot of travel. There's just so many such flexibility with homeschooling that people just don't realize. I think that they just think you're sitting at home, and it's just not. Homeschoolers live a very full and busy life. I think also for me, that what I have really seen in I know that if you ask my children this, that they would also say that what they loved about homeschooling is that it really made for a good family unit. We just have great relationships with our children. We know them, and I would say I'm a veteran homeschool mom, so My children have graduated now and they're doing very well. But I mean, it just being with them all those years just really made for a tight family relationship that I don't think that when you're away from your kids during their upbringing, if they're gone all week long, that you really get. And I'm not saying that people aren't close to know their kids, but it's just so much harder when your kid is away all day long and then you come home and there's so many things that have to be done, like chores and supper and a ton of homework. And then, it's time to go to bed and you just everything is rushed. And we just didn't have that. We were able to be with them while they did their schoolwork and talk about things and eat lunch with them. And I was the prominent, I would say, educator in our household, although a lot of other homeschool families I know, the spouse really, might even do 50-50 depending on their job. With my husband's work, he was gone most of the day and lots of times was not home until after supper time. But because of the flexibility that we had, the kids were able to stay up a little bit later because they didn't have to catch a school bus at dawn. So they could stay up and spend some time with their dad. And that's pretty much where they learned their photography skills, were through him, and a lot of outdoor things that they were able to do on the weekends with him. They would do during the day when he was gone, and then visit with him about whatever they did that he may have had them do around the house outside. So they really spent a lot more time with their dad than they would have been able to with his work schedule if they had been, in a brick and mortar school on a weekly basis. So I know that our family is better off as far as a family unit and closer because they were homeschooled. And I think that they would say that too about their relationship with their siblings, because they're very close. My children are 2.5 years apart, and they are very close. They had some of the same friends. That probably wouldn't have happened if they would have been in a brick and mortar school, because you're just so isolated from by grades, and they don't really cross over too much at all. So they also had really great relationships with adults because we were around families, other homeschool families. So when we were around other homeschool families, they would make relationships with friends' parents and, activities that we had. We joined a co-op, and so a lot of times we had fall parties and barbecues and dances and all sorts of things where the parents were really involved. And so they would be able to make friends with their friends' parents as well. And so that's really important too, because then you really know who your children are with. And as they got older, they could go with other families and do things. They weren't always with us. I think that's another thing that a lot of people would try to say that's bad about homeschooling. Oh, well, they're only with you and they don't get outside experiences. And that's just not true either. My children, by the time they were of age to be away from their parents, they would be with other parents. They would be with other families that had like-minded values that we have. I knew that they were safe. I knew that they were getting, everything that they needed, and that their character was being built because we were around other people that had good character. They also have so many things that you can outsource nowadays. So a lot of people think, oh, well, how can you, like, if I'm not good at a topic, a certain subject, I can't teach that to my children on a high school, or my child on a high school level. And I kind of feel like, that can be used as an excuse too. There's just so many other things that other people that maybe have a better skill set on a certain topic than you have, that is offered to the homeschool community. So I just never was really great with upper math skills, and I just outsourced those classes. And my children took, they had tutors and people that would help them with skills that maybe weren't my strong suit at that time. Because we all know, like, if you don't keep up with algebra, might not remember how to do algebra problems and things like that. But you can get them connected with people that do know those skills and that can teach them those things that you're worried that maybe you can't at, in those times, to prepare them for college. I think that there's lots of learning centers that are out there now for homeschoolers. I also know that my children attended the Pillar Foundation in the area that we live in, and they learned so many wonderful things from teachers that volunteered their time to this organization, where they just learned things that they never would have learned anywhere else, that just suited them well and helped them into adulthood. Um, I could just go on about this topic forever. I just can't tell you how happy we were with homeschooling. Our children turned out so well. And I know that there's probably holes in their education here and there, but you're definitely going to have holes in education no matter where you go or what school a child attends. There is going to be gaps in their education. I can definitely say that I knew my children's strong suits and things that they lacked in, and so they didn't fall between the cracks. We knew where they needed the extra help, and we were able to give it to them because of that, because of being with them and knowing those things. And so they also were able to develop interests of what kind of careers that they may want to have. So we could kind of hone in on those things and have them take more classes on those topics and those subjects, so that by the time they were ready for a career or young adulthood, they really had a grasp on those things and those topics and those skills before they even entered into that work field. So that was just paramount to what they wanted to do. I know that they've had many compliments through the years about how they communicate with people, how they send emails, how they just react to other adults and their coworkers and their superiors in the workforce. They have just received so many compliments and kind of moved up the ladder quickly. And I really think it's because of the skills that they learned in the homeschool community that you don't learn from just being in a classroom at a desk every single day. But I guess I would say that what I like most and what I love most about homeschooling is that those relationships that we were able to build with them, that we probably wouldn't be as strong if they were away from us all day long. And that the character building that came with that, and that we knew who they were hanging out with. We knew what families they were with. We knew where they were. If they wanted to go to somebody's house, we knew those families because we did life with them. We did school with them. And you don't get that with a brick and mortar school. Your kids make friends, and yeah, you invite those friends over, but you just don't really know necessarily what goes on in those households. And we definitely knew who our kids were with. And I think that the relationships that we built through the homeschooling years, just the conversations, just being with them, the rides to and from co-ops and classes and activities, we were able to have conversations with them about what happened, maybe with certain other friends and students on the way home in the car. Those awkward years when children reach puberty and they're struggling with their peers about what's going on in the world. You can kind of see what's happening, and then it just kind of opens the door for them to just kind of have an ease to talk to you about those things, because you have that relationship that you have built with them over the years, day to day, being with them all day long. And it kind of builds a trust, I think, that is stronger than if your child is away from you all day long, because, like it or not, there's a pressure, and there's a peer pressure that goes against the tide, no matter if you're where your kids go to school, even if they're homeschooled. My kids are still somewhere socialized around the homeschool community, and there's always going to be peer pressure. But I just believe that we had a better handle on it because we knew what was happening in their lives, and they knew that they could come and talk to us about it. So that's, my favorite part, is that just the relationships that we were able to build in the day-to-day things, and the flexibility that if we wanted to take time off to do special things for holidays or what have you, any of those things, the flexibility was there. And of course you do have to be disciplined, and there is a certain level of discipline that needs to come with if you're going to homeschool. And I think a lot of people think that they can't do that because they're like, oh, they just feel like they're not qualified. And I just feel like the world nowadays have made parents feel like you're not qualified to teach your child. And that's just not true. You are definitely qualified to teach your child if you have a little bit of discipline. And nobody knows your child like you do. Nobody cares about your child like you do. Nobody is going to put forth an effort for what's best for your child than the parent. And, God gave us our children to be a responsibility. I feel like it's really not good to just turn those responsibilities over to other people for long periods of time, because ultimately they belong to their creator. And God has given them to us for a short amount of time on this earth to form them and their formative years to help them along to be the best that they can be for his glory. And that was just our goal for my husband and I, to raise them to have a biblical worldview, to fulfill his will for their life. And I just know that they are definitely better off for the life that they had and the education that they have had through homeschooling. And I can't encourage anybody enough to, if you really want to homeschool, do not let the world we live in make you feel inadequate or that you don't have the skills that you need to homeschool your children, because you definitely do. If you have the will to do it, the resources are out there. I know tons of homeschool families that would love to come alongside you and help you across the whole globe. There's homeschoolers. And all you have to do is look for a homeschool community, and you will find families that want to come alongside you and help you in any areas that you feel inadequate. They will give you the help that you need. And soon you will find that, hey, yes, I can do this. I don't need to feel inadequate. I can do this if I really want to. And that brings me also to say that you can teach your children to research and learn if they have the will to do it. You can learn anything. You can learn anything if you want to. You don't need a specific teacher to teach you how to necessarily do that. Yes, you do need to look for someone with a skill set to learn from them, but it doesn't necessarily have to be someone with a degree, someone that has worked in that field forever. The information's out there. If you want to learn something, lots of people are self-taught on how to do certain things. So if there's a will, there's a way. And I do know that if my children don't know something, they know how to find out the truth or learn about a topic that they want to learn about. If they don't know about it, they definitely know how to do that. And I think that's another thing that homeschoolers know. They've learned how to figure out the answers and where to go and how to research and how to learn the things that they need to learn. So instead of just a cookie cutter thing, thinking they have to only get the answer from one particular place, they've been taught how to find the answers. So I just would highly encourage homeschooling. I would never, ever regret homeschooling. It's the best decision that we ever made. And I'm just so happy that we did it. And I can honestly say that because I'm finished homeschooling them now, and I actually miss it. I miss the time that we had together, but I'll always cherish it. And if you want to be with your kids every day and you want to be the one to teach them, you can definitely do it